All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Seth Paskin. I am your host for this Best Practices webinar. We will try to run these things every couple of weeks here, covering a variety of topics. Today, we're going to be talking about the TrueSight Operations Management generic data extractor. Your presenter is going to be Mahesh Mulye. Let me just do a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. This session is being recorded, so if you have to drop or if you want to share it or revisit it later, we'll have the recording available, and it will be posted on the BMC Community's website where the event was originally listed. You guys are listening to audio over the web. You do not connect it to audio, so you're on mute. If you have questions during the course of the event, please use the Q&A box, which is located, I think there's a button on the bottom of your screen that pulls up the Q&A box, and we will try to answer them either during the course of the presentation or at the end. And we'll stay on the line for as long as it takes to answer any questions that y'all might have, so no worries about that. Okay, I think we've got a quorum, and I think we've covered all the key topics, so I'm going to hand it off to Mahesh. Mahesh, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Seth. So my name is Mahesh Mulye, and I work in the Platinum Engineering team for TrueSight Capacity Optimization. So today I'm going to demonstrate a use case wherein, often there is a scenario wherein we are monitoring the platform or the entities in TSOM, and we would like to, make sure we can do the capacity planning for those entities or those metrics in CO, wherein there may not be, we may not be importing those entities from any out-of-the-box in CO connectors. So this use case is precisely demonstrating this scenario, wherein I'll be taking an example of AWS RDS instances, wherein a TSOM is already having AWS KM, and then the TSOM already has all the RDS instances. So we'll be using CO TSOM generic extractor with a sample JSON file that will fetch AWS RDS instances from TSOM into CO. And I will also demonstrate two simple metrics that I will mention in the JSON file, and then we can show those metrics in CO. So that is the overall use case I would like to emphasize. Now, how to achieve this use case? So if you are somewhat aware of the TSOM extractor, there is one extractor which is out-of-the-box extractor. There are two extractors. One extractor that supports standard platforms, which are AIX, Solaris, KVM, Standalone, and Hyper-V. And there is another generic extractor which allows you to define your own JSON file. And in that JSON file, you can specify what all entities, what all metrics, what all hierarchy you would like to fetch from TSOM. So the essential activity over here is I would like to tell you how the JSON is defined, how the entities are defined in the JSON file, how the mapping is done, So that is the main exercise, or that is the main knowledge that is needed, in order to write the JSON so that you could bring the hierarchy or the metrics from TSOM. So let me just go to OM. So I'm in TSPS over here. So if I go to TSPS, so I see all the devices that are being monitored over here. So this is the device on which I have deployed AWS KM. So there's a patrol agent that is monitoring this device, and then there is a AWS KM that is installed on this, that is deployed on this device. So as you can see over here, you see Seth, I can be heard properly, right?
Yep, you're fine.
Okay, good. So in this case, as you can see over here, for this device, I see all the monitors over here. So you can see over here for this device, there is a Amazon Web Services KM or monitor type over here. Beneath that, you see the account that has been configured as part of the infrastructure policy. And then below that, you see all the containers, which is EC2. You have the compute cloud, you have the block storage, and you have the RDS. So this is the one that I would like to right now fetch from OM. So this is a generic scenario, right? You have the entities in OM, you see the RWS instances. Now our task is to bring these entities in CO with some sample metrics. So if you look at the JSON structure that I have used over here, so in this JSON structure, the way the JSON is structured is you always define the type of entities that you would like to fetch from OM. So in this case, the entities that I wanted to. So if I look at this specific thing, I would like to fetch. So the way the JSON works is you have to first discover the device. And then beneath that, you could discover the monitor instances out of it. So in this case, right now, the first step would be, I would like to discover this device, which is CLM, PUN, SOP, and TH. And beneath that, I would like to discover this RDS instances. So how do I discover this device? So the first step is in the JSON, I will write the top level entity, which is RDS device over here. And then the main important part over here is I need to specify the monitor type, which is available as part of the device. So in this example, for this device, there are two monitor types which are under this device. The first is Amazon Web Services, and then the second is AWS Mahesh, okay, which is the AWS account. So if I look at these monitor types for either Amazon Web Services or even for AWS account, if you ask me what is the device for this monitor type, the device is CLM, PUN, SOP, and TH. So the first step is, as part of the discovery of the devices, I just mention the monitor type, okay? And then I just say, what is the instance name? So instance name can be anything. So for any instance of this specific monitor type, just bring the corresponding device. So this is what this section is telling the JSON file. So you can either pick up the root level monitor type, or you can pick up something beneath it, as long as the same device is covering those monitor types. So here what I did is I just said AWS account, which is simply this, and then so the first part is discovery of the device. So that is done. The next step over here is I need to define the children. Okay, if time permits, I will go to each and every field. So the next step is you define the children. In this case, what are the children? So what I want is, as part of the device, I would like to fetch all the RDS instances. So the next step is I need to get the monitor type for this relation database service. So if I go over here, AWS RDS instance, how do I discover it? So in the source is nothing but TSOM side. So in TSOM, this is an instance, and how this will be discovered using the monitor type _patrol _ AWS _ RDS. So that is the main thing. So the main part of the JSON as regards to discovery is now you can hear me, right?
Yes, you're fine.
Okay, fine. So essentially, the main part of the JSON is figuring out the monitor type. So the first step is figuring out what we want from the TSOM side. So in this case, I want this device and I want this.
Can we? We've got a question. Can you go back to the JSON for just 1 second?
Yeah.
Where you have AWS RDS device, is that a keyword, or can that be anything?
This one?
I believe he's referring to the metric configuration key.
Okay, where's the question? Let me just...
AWS RDS device. It's in the chat, not in the Q&A. It's from Ranganath.
Okay. So this can be anything actually. So this can be user-defined level, as well as this can be also user-defined level. But this has to be something which is from the TSOM backend side.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's user-defined, but it has to align to what's in TSOM.
Yeah. So if you look at this, right? So this is all so this is for JSON purpose. You can have whatever you want for this as well as for this, because these are nothing but references that you will find in the same JSON file. But on the other hand, this is something source identification value. So whatever is source identification value, that has to exactly exist on the TSOM side. So that is the next step I would like to show. So in terms of identifying the monitor types, So if I go over here, so how do I identify the monitor types for this? The backend name underscore patrol. So there are two ways to do it. The first way is something, you could go through the documentation route. So if I go over here, so this is the documentation for the Amazon Web Services 2.1 KM. So if I look at it over here, I can see all the monitor types that have been defined over here. So for example, the web services account is AWS underscore account. So I just need to prefix it with underscore patrol underscore underscore, and I get this name over here. That's it.
Got it.
Similarly, similarly, if I have to go to the relationship database service, see over here, relational database service, AWS underscore RDS. So I just need to, so if I go over here, if I just prefix it, I get the appropriate monitor type. So the easier way is like you go through the documentation for the KM and then you can figure out the precise monitor type. There is another way, which is a CO way of doing it. You run the ETL with log level 5. Let's say you created some sample JSON file, or you just ran the other extractor which supports default platforms like standalone or AIX. And then if you run the ETL at log level 5, you will get all monitor types that are there in the TSOM side. So this is, so I just ran the ETL and these are the logs for the ETL. So I have just ran this ETL with log level 5. And if I go over here, let's say I want to search for this specific AWS account, what is the monitor type? So I will just go to the log file and I will just search for, AWS account. Yeah, this is over here. So if you look at it, this is AWS account. I get the precise name of the monitor type over here. So this is another way of doing it. So either we can go to documentation of KM, or you can, all this information is also available as part of the CO extractor log file. So this is one way of, so either way you can figure out what are the exact monitor types. And then it's a mapping part in terms of, mapping it in the JSON file. So that's the primary way of, mapping part, which is many a times difficult for the user, how to figure out the backend name and those things. So these are the two simple ways in which we can figure out what is the mapping. Now again, I will move to the JSON part of it. Now let's say I configured, so this was the JSON over here. So what I did in this JSON, only two entities. One as my device, and another beneath that I have this RDS instance. So just one parent and one child below it. So as you can see over here, in CO, I have this parent, which is the device which is monitoring the which has the patrol agent and that has the AWS KM deployed on it. And beneath that you see all three instances, which you can see over here. So now, so this was an example wherein I tried to bring a very simple hierarchy, because the use case can be, I just want to bring the RDS instances from OM, simple use case. Another, now let me take a little bit complex use case. Let's say I want to build a hierarchy in CO, same as the hierarchy in OM. So now I want to bring this account as well as, so I want to represent this device, which is compulsory. So you need to have a device as a top level entity in the JSON file. And beneath that, I want to have this AWS account. And below that, I want to have the RDS instances. So in total, I want to bring three entities now from OM. So now the JSON has to change a little bit. So this is another JSON that I wrote for this use case. So what happens in this case? The top level entity remains the same, which is AWS RDS Device. How do I discover it? As I was telling sometime before, I need to first discover this device. Now, the earlier JSON, I had mentioned this monitor type and get me the device. Now, in this JSON, just to show you a different way of doing it, I have mentioned the monitor type for this, Amazon Web Services. All right, so if I go to Amazon Web Services in my log file, the monitor unique name is underscore patrol underscore AWS. So this is what I mentioned over here. So what does this telling JSON? Just get me all the devices for which the monitor type is this, and instance name can be anything. So in this case, instance name, what was the instance name in this case? The instance name in this case was AWS underscore Mahesh. Okay. So, sorry, instance name was Amazon Web Services. So there's just one instance, Amazon Web Services. So for this instance, get me the device. So which is CLM, PUN, SOPNTH. So the first step is device discovery. That is done. Now comes the next step. In the next step, what I have done is, as part of this device, I would like to have the child as AWS account. Okay. Now, if I go to AWS account, so as I said last time, I can put anything that I want over here. Only thing is, I'm putting the declaration over here, and then the definition is here. So how do I discover this AWS account? Again, I just mentioned the monitor type as underscore patrol underscore AWS underscore account. Okay. So that is the second level. So we wanted to bring 3-level hierarchy. First is device, second is account, and third is the instance. Now, as part of the account in the JSON, I will mention the third level as its child. So if I go over here in AWS account, I would mention the child as AWS RDS instance. Again, as part of its definition, I will mention the whole hierarchy over here. So now this is somewhat little bit complex in terms of like, I will explain the scenario. So when you are discovering any instance from the device, you can simply specify the monitor type. It will discover it. You don't need to specify any path. Like in the example I showed some time back with this JSON file. Only 2 elements were there. I just specified this as a child instance. But in this case, wherein I'm bringing 3-level hierarchy, there are 3 elements as part of the hierarchy. In that case, I need to give the exact path. Okay, so I brought a device. Underneath, I brought an instance. I just gave the simple instance monitor type. And then when I traverse from instance to instance, okay, I need to give a precise path in the JSON file. Now, how do I give a precise path in the JSON file? From the UI, let's say in the UI, I want to traverse from AWS account to relational database service. How do I traverse? The first traversal is AWS container. And within AWS container, I see relational database service. So what I need to do, I need to first find monitor type for AWS container. What is the first, what is the possibility? I go to this document, KM documentation, and I will just search for it over here. So what is the container? AWS underscore CNDR. Okay. So I go to the JSON file, and then what I do, I just prefix it with underscore patrol underscore, and I mention AWS underscore CNDR. All right. So the first step is done. So I discovered the container monitor type. What is the next step? I just need to say / because I need to traverse one more level within the container, and I specify the monitor type for this. So I come here and then I just specify / and I just specify the AWS RDS. Okay. So while traversing from instance to instance, you need to give the precise path. Okay, because one of the reasons is there could be multiple containers of the same type. For example, over here, you see that, there are AWS container, but they contain different things. So you give the precise path that from this account, I want to go to container, and within that, I want to go to the specific monitor type. So instance to instance, you give precise path. From device to instance, you don't need to give precise path, you just give the monitor type. So that is the basic principle when you design the JSON file. So having designed the JSON file in this manner, if I configure this JSON file with a CO ETL, what I see in CO is this. So if I go to CO, so this is another ETL I configured. So I see this device. Within this device, I see this account. And I can specify any type. For now, I have specified this generic. This can be tenant or account or anything. And within this, I see all the instances. Okay. And then comes the metric. So one JSON, just 2 entities, and one JSON, three entities in hierarchy. So it depends on how you design the JSON. So it's flexible enough. We just need to have some basic knowledge in terms of how the JSON should be structured. And then with that, you can bring any hierarchy from OM into CO. Now let's go to the metrics part of it. Let me take this JSON. So for this AWS RDS instance, I'm going to specify the metrics. If I don't have metrics for the entity, I just don't specify that attribute. For example, for this account, there are no metrics, so I don't specify any key. For RDS instance, I will specify some metrics. Metrics key I need to. What was the question? Okay, I will check the question later. So in this case, if I go over here for the instance, I see that this is the metric configuration key. So if I go over here, so this is the key that is defined over here, and I have just populated two metrics, one as CPU util and another as DB total free size. Again, destination refers to CO and source refers to OM. So how do I get this metrics? Again, go to KM documentation. And within KM documentation, I can go to the specific thing. So if I go to this relational database service, AWS RDS, I can see all the parameters over here. For example, if I have to go to CPU utilization, I see RDS CPU utilization. So I just need to map it over here, RDS CPU utilization. Again, I have to go to, let's say I want to have DB total free size. How do I get that? I just go over here, and then there should be somewhere over here. See this. So this is free storage space. So I just go here, and then I just map it over here. So most of the information you should be able to get it from the KM documentation. If something is missing, the CO logs should be able to help you out. And then the metrics on the CO side are well known. You can go to administration, and then within that, within the dataset and metrics section, you should be able to get the CO metrics. So that's the thing on the CO side. So you have to just do the mapping, and then you have to apply the appropriate unit of conversion. Again, the same information can be there in for example, if you go over here, free storage space, you should be able to see the unit over here. This has a gigabytes unit. If you go to CO unit, you can get it in, as you know, if I go to datasets and metrics, I should be able to get CO unit as well. So if I go here, I can just search for the metric, and then I should be able to get the whatever is the unit for that. So this is something that we can use it for the mapping purpose. So I get the metric, I get the unit over here. So you can just use this to, to have the appropriate formula with the mapping. So that's the overall, I would say the overview of the JSON and how you do it. And then you get the data. If I go over here, I ran the ETL last time on Friday. So you see all the data up till Friday over here. So you get all the data over here. So the main thing is actually designing the JSON. Just to reiterate, you have to discover the device first, and then within that you have to discover the monitor instances, and then you just need to map the monitor types as you see in the PSPS UI to the appropriate backend names, and then you can. I'm going to attach these two JSONs as part of the webinar attachments. So you just need to fill up the appropriate monitor types, and then that's the way to go forward with these JSONs actually. And then there are other things like the lookup and those things. So if you want to, for example, if you want to have this, so like sometimes you would like to have a prefix as with the parent name. So if you want to have that is also possible as part of the JSON file. So you just say, if you go to the JSON file over here, so in this case, for this, what I said is RDS instances, it should be prefixed by the account name, @account name. So if I go over here in the RDS instances, I just said parent suffix and then hostname @. So in this case, what is the parent for this RDS instance? It is nothing but account. So the account name over here will be prefixed. All right, will be suffixed. and @hostname, which is the account name. So that's how you can, you have a choice if you want to have the same name or with suffix. So that is possible with the JSON structure. You just need to say destination field modification required true. If you omit this, if you omit the whole thing, whatever is there in the TSPS side, the same thing will appear in ON side, on the CO side. So that's the overall thing. So any questions?
Yeah. So we've had a couple questions. We're going to go back to JSON for 1 second. It says, it looks like if this is Brendan asking, if it looks like the JSON attribute begins with SRC, it must match the name in TSOM. I think this is a broader question you were asking about, just making sure your JSON maps to your TSOM and how you define the entities there. Is that?
Yes. So SRC stands for the source, which is OM in this case. So whatever is there in the SRC, those are the mappings that need to be figured out on the OM side, either from the KM documentation or, that is the way to do it. Okay,
great. And Pradeep had asked, can we get the metrics without CO? And I believe the answer is yes, you're showing the generic way to pull these metrics. You're just showing the second use case of how they could be consumed in CO if you desire to do that.
In order to get the metrics in CO, you would need to map it to some metrics in CO. So you have to map it to some metrics in CO.
Right, but the point is, what you're showing us as far as extracting this data, you can use the data for any number of purposes, CO just being one of them. Correct?
Yes, right, yeah.
Okay.
This is just one use case. You can use the data for, once the data is in CO, you can use it for whatever purpose you want.
Right, okay. Pablo wants to know, are we planning on preparing some basic JSON templates for the main KMs, something we can provide and share either on communities or directly to our users?
Yeah, we could do that in future. So right now we have I'm planning to give this RDS instance as JSON as part of the webinar, so that can be used as a template. I'll give both the JSONs. So for most of the use cases, these two JSONs should be good enough because they cover both the use cases. One as the simple use case and another as more complex use case, which can be used to build any hierarchy. So those should be good starting points. And in the future, we could give a few more JSONs if time permits. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then Prasad asks, can we get custom KM metrics using this to CO?
Yes, you could do that. As long as the custom KM is built in the same way as the out-of-the-box KMs that BMC does actually. As long as so the basic premise is as long as you see the monitor types and you see the metrics, you could also use the custom KMs unless they have been defined in a totally different way than the standard ones.
Okay. And Pablo asks, can you show the ETL configuration?
Okay.
For CO, I assume.
Yeah, so this is the JSON that I configured. So this is the JSON that, this was my JSON, and then it just configured over here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So Pablo, I hope that answers your question. If not, we can follow up. I know how to get a hold of you. All right, let's see if we have any other questions in the Q&A. I don't see any in the chat. No, it looks like that's it. So we had great attendance, and Mahesh, as always, power-packed, jam-packed full of information in a very short period of time. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now. As I mentioned at the beginning, we've got the recording. It takes me about a day to get it formatted and posted and all that. I'll post it back out to communities. If you registered for the webinar, you'll get a follow-up email in about an hour with a link to the community's site where you can go and follow back up on this if, for whatever reason, you want to revisit some of the content. And I will ask Mahesh to provide any relevant files like his presentation or the JSON file if he can share it and I'll attach it up to their recording on communities as well.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I think with that, Mahesh, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And thanks everybody for attending and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Bye.